All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Wominium's biology program. This is the first series we are kicking off with a focus on astrobiology. We're very excited to have you here today. We have an amazing team here, and today's goal and today's mission is to orient you of what this program is going to look like. Like I mentioned, today is going to be the most boring day. We want to make sure you're well set up and you actually know what astrobiology is. Tomorrow onwards, you're going to meet some amazing speakers, work on some amazing projects, and see some amazing labs as well. So we're very excited to have you and welcome you today. Yeah, let's kick off. So a little bit about Wominium and astrobiology. First is what is Wominium astrobiology? There are two questions there. What is Wominium? Wominium is a foundation that a few of us from MIT, we started in 2017 with the goal to advance people in the cutting edge of sciences. So this is a Washington, D.C. based foundation, and we primarily work with US government agencies like NASA, NIH, National Institute of Health, ARPA, DARPA, NIST, which is the National Institute of Standards and Technology, where we just completed a big quantum computing program. And now we kick off our Innovations in Biology program. Our first program and partner is Dr. Tess Marlin. And with her, we're exploring, well, what does it mean to push the edges of biology? You know, biology has been a stable and steady field for many years, but the question is, what is new and exciting in this field? All right, so this is me, Prachi Vakharia. I live and work in Washington, D.C. I currently work at a company called Amazon. I've helped 3 startups exit and be sold to Daimler in 2014. And along with Raj and a few others from MIT, we started Wominium with the goal of creating young scientific leaders and entrepreneurs of tomorrow. With me today is Tess Marlin. Over to you, Tess.
Hi, everyone. Thank you, Prachi. So I am not a doctor yet. I'm in grad school still. So I started my science journey actually studying math and biochemistry. And after I finished that, I was working in medical sciences in DC, actually. And then after taking a break from science, I spent some time in Australia and some other countries. And while I was in Australia, I was on a cattle ranch looking at the night sky every night. And the more I looked at the night sky, the more I thought that I wanted to bring science in a different direction. And really think about how I could study biology beyond our world and think about how biology might be in other places in our solar system or even beyond. So I came back to the US and I started as a graduate student at the California Institute of Technology, where I'm currently doing planetary astronomy. I also have been really fortunate to work with some groups at the NASA Jet Propulsion Lab, and we basically simulate these ocean worlds in our solar system in lab, and we study the characteristics and try to understand how life could be originating there. And so I'm really excited for this program. I really love to share my new fields with excited learners around the world. And so I'm really excited for this journey and for us to learn together from each other and from our amazing speakers that we have coming.
Great. So let me introduce you to the rest of the team as well. We have some young people in our team. Right. Karina.
Hi, everyone. My name is Karina, and I am the artist slash designer on the team. You may have seen some of my work from the quantum program, but I graduated last year from Art Center with a BFA in illustration, and I will be pursuing a master's in graphic design during the fall. My role is to create visually appealing assets for the team to use, and an example of this might be the GIF of the green creature you've been seeing on Discord. While my background is not in STEM, I'm just happy to use my creative and artistic skills with Wominium to expand their vision and to tell their story.
Awesome. Ananya.
Hi, everyone. I'm Ananya, and I'll be a freshman this fall at Stevens Institute of Technology, studying computer science. A lot of my interests lie in AI, mental health, and quantum computing. Quantum computing, some of you may know, I got into last year through the Wominium 2022 quantum program. And from there, this year, I joined the Wominium team to deliver a new and improved 2023 program, which we just had the career fair for this Friday. So I joined the Womanium Bio team to continue expanding the pursuit of STEM for all like students around the world and to further Womanium's vision. And I'm glad to be here to create a nice program experience for everyone.
All right. Over to Akshita.
Hi everyone, I'm Akshita. I'm a rising senior in high school in Northern Virginia, and I've been doing quantum computing research in my high school career. And so when I came across the Womanium program last summer, I was like so shocked that there was a program to focus on like the more like niche topics. But I joined the program and I had a lot of fun. There was a lot of speakers, and I ended up also winning the hackathon and startup competition, which was super exciting because then that kind of got me more tied into the Womanium team. And I got really enthusiastic about seeing like what goes on in the back end of the program. And so I helped develop the 2023 program. It was a lot of fun. And I also got a chance to work on this program, which I think is really cool because I haven't heard of astrobiology before this. And I think it's really exciting. You guys will have a lot of fun.
Indeed. Thank you. And Anushka, over to you. So Anushka leads the biology team and the biology modules. Over to you.
Hi, everyone. My name is Anushka. I'm an undergraduate student at UC Santa Barbara, and I'm studying biopsychology and statistics. I'm also conducting research right now in neuroscience for human decision-making, specifically in response to stress. So most of my interests lie in healthcare, tech, and STEM education. And I joined Womanium in hopes of combining these interests and also sharing them with others. So I started off working on foundational bio research and have since then learned from their quantum team and decided to help build out the Womanium Bio program alongside the rest of the team. So welcome to our first Innovations in Bio program. First, for a little background on Womanium Bio itself, the goal of the program is to explore the ways bio has an impact and relevance to other fields of STEM, including space, quantum technology, healthcare, and even environment. We believe it's important to explore the implications of bio in impactful areas like climate change, aging, and as we're learning in this program, astrobio. The structure of the program will allow you to contextualize bio with these many different fields in science and tech. With the keynotes, panels, and lab tours available to you, Womanium will provide a well-rounded experience where you can truly interact with experts in these subfields of bio. And throughout the program, you'll be able to build your own projects alongside the rest of your peers. And specifically during the astrobio module, you'll have the chance to build a mission proposal that Tess will get into a little more detail later on.
Okay, so astrobiology, the reason we're all here. I'm super excited to talk about this all with you guys. So before we start, one thing that we kind of had been running into when we were talking with a lot of people about this is that people didn't really know what astrobiology was. So I encourage you all to use the Discord because it's way more fun if we're all interacting as we do this. So if you go to the live questions channel on the Discord, please put your best guess on what you think astrobiology is. Okay, we have biology, but in space. Great start. A few more. The study of the origin of life on Earth and life on other planets. Very good answer. Kaya, I'm not sure how to say it. Finding aliens in space, search for life in other worlds. Amazing. Wow, you guys are really on top of things. So to give a specific definition, it is the study of the origin, evolution, and distribution of life in the universe. And it's really critical that despite what we would believe from science fiction, we currently have a sample size of 1. This is the only place in the universe where we know for sure that life has or currently is existing. And so it's really important in astrobiology that we consider like basically how our own life originated on this planet. So a big portion of astrobiology is actually understanding Earth so that we can then move to characterize where life could exist somewhere else in our solar system or beyond. So these are some of the key questions we're addressing with astrobiology and the ones that we're really excited to share with you guys in the next few weeks. So here's just a crash course in the timeline of astrobiology and where it came from. This field really started taking off around when the Soviet Union was launching first an artificial satellite and then later a human into space. And this scientist, Joshua Lederberg, really was one of the founding fathers of the field of astro, or at this time called exobiology. And this realization that as we became a species to leave our own planet, we had to really consider what might be happening as far as life that could exist elsewhere in our solar system and beyond. And so with that, the 60s were filled, of course, with attempts to get people on the moon. But beyond that, NASA was preparing to send a spacecraft to Mars with really a strong interest in searching for signs of life. So Viking 1 landed on Mars, and unfortunately, despite the public enthusiasm and excitement for finding life immediately on Mars, there was no immediate detection of life. So Viking 1 sent several life detection experiments, and they were ambiguous. One said, yeah, there's probably life here. One said, well, no, definitely not. And so there was no immediate unambiguous conclusion that there's life on Mars. And so unfortunately, there was kind of, because of this, the public were not so enthusiastic about Mars temporarily. But it's really important to highlight that this was still an incredible engineering and science success. So from then to now, so this is now about 50 years later, a few things have happened that have really helped to further the astrobiology field. One is that the first confirmed exoplanet was discovered. And then since then, we've confirmed more than 5,000 exoplanets, which is amazing because these are planets that are not in our solar system, but they might still have life harbored on them. And so when we start to think about this, we're thinking even beyond our own solar system. And so another amazing discovery was that even in our own very small solar system, we have other ocean worlds. And so ocean worlds, it was thought that Earth was the only place with an ocean for a while, but it was later discovered that we have oceans in some of these moons of these outer planets. And finally was kind of an Earth-based discovery. And that was that some of these previously thought like unhospitable environments actually hosted extremophile or extreme loving microbes. And so these were in very harsh environments that were previously thought to be uninhabitable. So from there, we were able to study astrobiology in a bunch of different ways. Of course, like the flashiest and most exciting is to send spacecraft and missions to these different bodies in the solar system. This is a picture of Dragonfly, which will go to Titan in a few years. And this is really how we get some of our amazing data, because we can actually send spacecraft there to look at it and to see these surfaces. But it's important to note that this is not something that we don't have an unlimited budget to be sending these spacecraft places. These are very expensive ventures, and so we are somewhat limited, and all the science we want to do with spacecraft and missions is just not possible. And so another way is actually via telescopes. And so this is the James Webb Telescope, which of course is up in space, but there's also some really powerful telescopes that are here on Earth as well that we can use to study these planets and these moons. We can bring it into our own labs. We can recreate the surfaces of either Earth or Mars or these outer moons of Jupiter and Saturn, and we can really manipulate and closely study what science we think could be happening there. And finally is fieldwork. So the Earth is full of very diverse environments, and some of them are really quite good analogs, especially for Mars, but also even some areas of Antarctica are very good analogs for the outer moons of the solar system. So we have an amazing lineup of people coming to talk to you starting tomorrow. So tomorrow, our first topic will be icy ocean worlds, these moons of Jupiter and Saturn. And I really encourage you all to come tomorrow because we'll have Dr. Morgan Cable from the NASA Jet Propulsion Lab, who's an amazing scientist. She's worked on a number of missions and mission concepts, and she's an incredible and inspiring scientist who really can excite people about the icy ocean worlds of our outer solar system. So this will be our first keynote speaker, and she'll be talking tomorrow. Of course, we can't have astrobiology without Mars, which is one of NASA's favorite planetary bodies. And so on the 16th, we'll have a Perseverance scientist coming to talk to you about Mars and some of the science that's currently being done with the Mars rovers. After that, we will have Dr. Michael come to talk about exoplanets. And so exoplanets, again, are these planets that are outside of our own solar system. And he made an incredible discovery of the TRAPPIST-1 planetary system. And he will be talking about how astrobiology in exoplanets is a growing subsection of the field. And finally, we'll turn to Earth itself and look at the origin of life on Earth. And we're bringing Dr. Sudha Rajamani, who will be speaking about her work on the origin of life on Earth and how that's important for studying in the fields of astrobiology. It's also important to know that beyond mission scientists and telescopes, we have these lab scientists. And so we're bringing a few of the lab scientists here to talk to you guys and to answer your questions. We have Dr. Bonnie Teese and Dr. Jessica Weber coming from NASA Jet Propulsion Lab's Origin and Habitability Lab, which is one of the biggest astrobiology groups at JPL. We also have Dr. Lena Vincent, who will be giving a lab tour and question and answer. So I highly encourage you to come to both of these. These will be more interactive, where you'll really have a chance to chat with them and hear about what it's like to be a NASA scientist and doing work in a lab. So then our Tuesday topics, so these are on select weeks, and these are going to be more mission focused. So we're bringing in Kelly Case from the NASA Jet Propulsion Lab as well, who is one of the leads on Team X, which does mission concept, evaluation, and design. We'll have Joseph Marlin, who's the Deputy Chief Engineer at Firefly Aerospace, and he works on the Blue Ghost Lunar program, which is NASA contracted to send spacecraft to the moon. And so he'll talk about kind of the different components of a mission and how they work together. We'll have Dr. Bethany coming from a different NASA center, so that NASA Goddard Space Flight Center, which is out of DC. She has what I think is the dream job. She works in the Goddard Instrument Field Team, where they basically take instruments that could be on missions and they bring them around the world to different field sites to test them. So I'm really excited to hear her talk about her work, and you can learn about how field work is really integral to missions. And finally, we will have a pitch practice, and we'll bring members of our own team to discuss how to really pitch your science and to sell it well. So these will be to help you really develop your mission well. So I'm going to hand it over to Ananya, who's going to talk about platforms, and then we'll swing back and talk about instructions for the mission design component of this.
Okay, so as you may know, we'll be using 4 platforms to host this program. The first one being Zoom, which we're using currently. Zoom will be used for the live sessions for this program. Although the Zoom chat should be disabled, and all questions that you have, please use the live questions in Discord. Every day you'll get a link through Luma and a reminder on Discord to join the Zoom meetings on time. And all the Zoom meetings should be hosted at the same time, which is 11 a.m. EDT. The second platform that we have is Discord. On Discord, we'll be using the platform and its many channels in our server to have different discussions. So here Tess is presenting it. So of course, once you join, I'm sure you guys introduce yourself in the introduce yourself chat. During the live sessions, please use the live questions for the astrobiology section to ask all your questions so that we can get to them as fast as possible. When we're not in a live session, you can use the general questions or the respective chat for your topic to ask questions. The resource hub channel right below general questions is where you can share papers on different things related to astrobio and things that are helpful. And as we have a mission design component in this program, when you form your teams, you will be required to obviously communicate with them. So when you do that, make sure you reach out to the people and through messages. And when creating a group DM, make sure you're Discord friends with everyone. So you can send people friend requests and they can accept so that you can create a group DM and communicate effectively. We can go back to the slides now. Oh, one more thing, sorry. All important messages will be sent in the announcements channel. The next platform we're using is Canvas. On Canvas, we'll be having all the quizzes for this program. Here on the module section, you can find all the quizzes, and through home as well. We'll also be sending out resources on Canvas for you to use for the program. So make sure you keep an eye on that. And of course, you can see the grades for your assignments and everything on the bar to the left. Okay, we can go back to the presentation. And then lastly, we'll have YouTube, where the recordings of the sessions will be available for everyone. So every time we have a live session, usually within a day, the session will be uploaded to YouTube, and you guys can have access to the recording if you can't make it due to an urgency to the live session. And that's everything for the links and platforms.
Thank you, Ananya. So moving along. So the last component we want to talk about is the mission design. And so we really think it'd be fun to give you guys a chance to start thinking about this the way that planetary scientists are really thinking about like sending spacecraft to these different bodies in our solar system. So here's some of the criteria. So these are some of the questions you should be asking with the members of your team. Where are you going? Your overall mission goal? What are your science questions? And so there's a lot of science you can do in the solar system. We're asking that you have at least one astrobiology science question, but if the other ones are more geology or planetary or like dynamics focused, that's fine. But at least one of your questions should address a topic of astrobiology. Think about what instruments you will use to answer them. And then what will your spacecraft look like? So we will be putting a rubric on Canvas this week. We want to highlight two very important events, that is the semifinals and the finals. And so semifinals will be everyone coming to compete and give a short pitch, every team. And then finals will be, we'll select the top maybe 6 or 10 teams to give a pitch for a wider panel of judges that we'll be bringing in. And it's important as you're forming your teams that someone on your team has to be available to attend both semifinals and finals live. So we understand that people have conflicts, but for the semifinals and finals, we need at least one person to be there to give your science presentation. So I just want to give an example. So this is Dragonfly, which is an upcoming NASA New Frontiers mission to Titan. So imagine that the people who proposed Dragonfly are instead participants of this amazing astrobiology program. And so they are filling out and like thinking about this. So they're going to Titan, they have their overall mission goal, and they have some specific science questions that they're using in support of their mission goal. So you can see these are very integrated. They only have a handful of instruments. So you can tell that it's not necessarily the more instruments, the better, because you have to get them all there. So they just have a smaller suite of instruments to really look at this. And then they're using a robotic rotorcraft. So you can see that's this guy to do their mission work. So some logistics. So in a very unrealistic for the world scenario, we're saying not to worry about budget because we want you guys to have fun and not to be thinking about the cost of all this. Also launch date and window, that's some like tricky engineering math. And I think it's more important again to focus on the science. So this is really a science program, not an engineering program. If you want to, for fun, think about engineering details, you're welcome to, but you won't be judged on them. Your team should be 3 to 4 people, and we really encourage you to meet new people and to accumulate a group with different backgrounds. I'm sure you guys have seen in the introduce yourself, you guys are like so impressive. You guys are coming from like all over the place and like really incredibly diverse backgrounds. So your team should not be like 3 engineers from the same city in the same country. Try to pull people from different countries, meet people, like have fun with this, and really commit to your team. So if you're going to be on a team and participate in the mission design competition, we're asking that you really commit, and we're expecting you're spending maybe 1 or 2 hours a week on this mission design component. And Discord is in place for you to meet people and meet your team. So where should you go? So I have pulled these options as possibilities. These are some of the most popular astrobiology targets of our solar system. Venus and Mars are 2 planetary neighbors. Ceres is a dwarf planet. And then of course we have the 3 moons of the outer solar system, Europa being Jupiter's moon, and then Titan and Enceladus being moons of Saturn. I have an other category. I don't want to limit you guys to the 6 most popular. If you want, there are some moons further out, Uranus and Neptune, that could be some interesting targets. If you're really brave, you could do Ganymede or Callisto. There's a lot of options that you guys could think about. So I really encourage you to be creative and maybe even go beyond. So there's the other channel if you want to coordinate an astrobio mission for one of these others, besides the 6 listed here. So I encourage you to pick which one interests you the most and start meeting people in that channel to try to form your team. And so mission architecture. So the most common, of course, are a rover and an orbiter, but those are not the only ones. And I want to really encourage you to think outside the box and like to come up with some really interesting architecture that might be really out there. And here are some examples. So of course, a lot of these are not actual missions. So EELS is a mission concept to Enceladus that I believe you will be hearing more about tomorrow from Dr. Morgan Cable. Poseidon was a pretty wild mission concept proposed to Titan, where they had this potential for a fleet of mini drones that was going to be going around. So again, like really have fun and be creative. There's so many opportunities here. for you to really dig in and think about some new sorts of science. So I want to highlight again that you should be getting started on Canvas. I have put these resources here just for you to start to learn about astrobiology if you're brand new to the field. So the astrobiology primer is written for scientists, for basically people coming in to the field who have never done astrobiology before. It's a really long document. So I've also given you a how to use document, which highlights what chapters are basically the most useful for the purpose of this. You're welcome to read the whole thing, but it's going to take a while. And so I really wanted to highlight what is going to be most useful. This amazing link, this chronology of lunar and planetary exploration, is a really comprehensive list of pretty much every single mission from every single country that has ever flown into space. And so I encourage you to look there, and you can actually look and see like what instruments were flown on most of them. This is a really good place to get ideas based on what's already been up there and to understand like what maybe some of the workhorse instruments are for some of this science. The final resource is not as important maybe as the first two. It's a decadal strategy, or decadal survey. So every 10 years, the scientists get together and determine what should be the priorities for the next decade. And so this one is the most recent decadal survey that was published. And so you can read in here what the priority science questions are and what the priority targets are for the upcoming decade. I do want to highlight that we are not abiding by the decadal survey for the purposes of this course. So if you want to go somewhere that's not in a decadal survey, that's more than fine. The important thing is really to be creative and not necessarily to be sticking in the guidelines of the science and the guidelines that are already out. So feel free to really be creative, but it's there in case you want to read it and see what the scientific priorities are for the upcoming decade. So just a timeline quickly to make sure that we're clear on how the mission design component is working. This week and next week, you should be meeting people. And so make a diverse team, look at the resources on Canvas, and then by the end of next week, one member of your team should submit the team member info on Canvas. So the next few weeks, you should be working on really developing this mission. I want to encourage you to have fun with this and to not necessarily like really like dig into the weeds, but to kind of think more in like a bigger conceptual manner of like what science you're excited about and how you could potentially address it. And then by September 1st, we're asking that you submit a mission checkpoint, which will just be a series of questions to ensure that you're on the right track for the end of this program. I want to briefly highlight, you may be encountering academic papers. If you really dig into the science of this, it's very likely you'll need to be reading academic papers. And these are unfortunately usually behind a paywall because of the scientific system. And so some tips. So firstly, if someone on your team has an active university affiliation, ask them to get this paper for you. This is because usually universities have subscriptions so they can get around the paywalls. Secondly, search on Google Scholar. So Google Scholar is really good at aggregating basically some places where the paper might be available without the paywall. But if those two fail, then you should ask on Discord and we will make a paper request channel because we do not want you paying money to access these papers. Please do not do that. Ask us, we will get them, we will email them to you. So yes, that is the situation with academic papers. So moving into week 6 and 7, it's kind of getting towards the end of the program. So we're going to ask you to submit your slides draft so we can look it over, make sure it's on the right track. And then we're going to work with you to develop a pitch and to really sell your science well. And so that'll be in week 6 and 7. And then week 8, we'll ask for a final copy of your slides. And then on September 20th, we will have the semifinals, which everyone will be able to present in, and we will select the top proportion of teams to continue on to the finals, where we will be bringing some judges in from various universities and research institutions around the world to judge your projects. So, of course, there's some interest from everyone in getting the certificate to show that you've completed this program. And so here's the requirements for the certificate. You'll need to complete the About Yourself. This is like the pre-course survey on Canvas. It's just graded for completion. There's no right answers and wrong answers, just so we can get a feeling of what the demographics are in our group. You need to do the keynote quizzes. These are not going to be hard. That's mostly just to ensure that you're attending the lectures. They will be due by Sunday of the corresponding week. And there'll be 4 of them, 1 for each of our keynote speakers. Make sure you're submitting the information in the checkpoint and the slides, and these are basically all mission items. And then someone in your team needs to attend semifinals and finals, and then finishing with a post-course survey. So I believe that is all the content we wanted to share with you guys. I wanted to finish with a fun slide to show who we are in this program. So we have, as of this morning, I believe about 506 people registered, and it looks like we have maybe close to 60% of you guys online right now, so that's pretty exciting. And we have people coming from more than 70 countries, which is also amazing. So it's really great to have you guys coming from so many different places in the world. We're over half women, which is really exciting. Of course, this is one of the big functions of Womanium, is to promote women in science and entrepreneurship. And then here's just some demographics about the stage of career and fields of our students. So Prachi, I think I'll hand it back to you.
Amazing. Right, if you're there as well, let's field some questions. So it's Q&A time. This is now time for us to get to know each other. If you have your questions, put them in live questions on Discord. You have some time with Tess here as well. Good, answer your questions. Tess, we have one question from Anjali, who asks, can we design our own architecture, our own rover, etc.?
Yes, that is the goal, to design your own architecture. So I had the examples to inspire you, but I highly encourage you to do something completely different from anything that's been done before.
Amazing. I think Anjali will make it great. Kaya from Germany asks, do the missions need to stay within the solar system to make it more realistic, or can we ignore that factor?
That's a good question. I want to say, if you want to go somewhere outside, that's fine, but just make sure you have solid science to back it up, which could be harder if you are studying somewhere else in the universe because our science isn't as strong. But if you can get very solid science to back it up, you're welcome to go elsewhere in the solar system.
Great. And I hope that answered. Yeah. Go beyond solar. If there's good science, good research.
Yes, you've got to be well backed up.
Great. So Abdullah Khazi asks, how does the astrobiology team at NASA approach the study of extreme environments on Earth? And how does this research inform our understanding of potential habitable environments on other planets or moons? How challenging is it in terms of normal expeditions?
In terms of what?
Normal expeditions.
Oh, normal expeditions.
So when you look at extreme environments, yeah.
Yeah, that's a great question. So there's a NASA, so basically NASA has different categories of grants that they'll fund. And one of them is called P-STAR, which is like planetary something analog research. And this P-STAR grant will actually fund you specifically to go to a place in the world which bears similarity to somewhere else in the solar system. So it's a specific astrobiology grant to do astrobiology elsewhere on Earth. And so some popular places for that are Alaska, or up in way up in northern Canada. There's a place where it's basically a glacier ice field, but it's got some sulfates on it, which is really an interesting Europa analog. And so there's some different interests. Of course, Antarctica is a big one. And so basically there's some different efforts and interests, but NASA's very strongly supporting field work. And that's a big component of a lot of scientists' journeys. And actually, so next week we'll hear from Dr. Weber and Dr. Teese, who have both done field work in Australia, as well as other parts of the world. And then following that, we'll hear from Dr. Bethany at NASA Goddard, who is doing basically mostly field work for her work at NASA.
Right. Wow, so exciting. And I have actually more questions. So some people are a bit nervous. When do we have to form the team? It's a bit overwhelming. By what date do we form the team as well? Can you share a bit more? And also,
Yes.
We have sessions we are setting up to give more guidance on the missions.
Yes.
This is just a bit of taste, but you'll have a lot of help along the way.
Yeah, so the team needs to be formed by August 13th. So it gives you 2 weeks, and we encourage you to use these channels. So we set up the 7 channels on Discord under astrobiology, and there's one for each, basically each of these solar system objects that are most popular for astrobiology, as well as another channel where you can go if you'd like to basically explore somewhere else. So meet people there, form your teams. It's not meant to be stressful. It's really just to get you guys thinking about astrobiology and some different resources you can use, and some different ideas you can explore, but it is not meant to be stressful. At the end of the day, this is about learning and having fun, and nothing terrible is going to happen Like there is no negative consequences. Like this is not meant to be in any way negative. So it's going to be a great time, and the goal is to learn and to be excited about astrobio.
That sounds fun. So we have a good question which is, how do the fields in astrobiology differ from those of geology?
Yeah, that's a good question. I usually get into that more, but I didn't this time. So the interesting thing about astrobiology is it's extremely interdisciplinary for a field. And so there's only a small portion of astrobiologists that come from a biology background. It's very common that people are coming from geology, from chemistry, from physics, from astronomy. So because it's a field where we need so many different types of expertise, it basically is a field that comes together based on topic. But like degree programs in astrobiology are not too common, because generally you're getting a degree in something else and going into astrobiology research.
That's true. All right. Another question is, so will we have access to information on the type of sensors that are currently used to take samples on planets or satellites that we're going to investigate in the mission?
So all of that information, if it's a NASA mission, it would all be publicly available. I believe same with ESA and most of the government agencies. That would be all stuff that you could find online. So I encourage you to use that as like a background information to like design your mission. But also you could kind of do your own research and look at mission concepts. So there's basically, for every mission that is going to space, there's a bunch of missions that were not funded. So all of these have got a bunch of research that you can look into and see what they had proposed as well.
Okay. Very exciting. I have so many more great questions. So what are, Joshua from Philippines, what are ethical considerations that are relevant in astrobiology?
That's a great question. So NASA has a subdivision called the Planetary Protection Division. And unfortunately, it's a very small division. And I asked every single person in the division if they were available to give a talk for this program, and none of them were. But that's okay, because we will do more astrobiology. And at some point, we will get a planetary protection person to give you all a talk. But it's very important to consider planetary protection, which goes two ways. So we need to protect the places we go. So imagine if we show up on Mars and we bring a spacecraft that's covered in bacteria, and we dump it there and we say, look, we found life on Mars. But then we look at it and we say, oh, it looks just like the life that's in the NASA spacecraft facility. Like, that's not good. So it's really important that we are basically making sure that our spacecraft are not bringing life from Earth to the other places. And another thing that this links to is the question between the origin of life and the habitability of a place. And this is really important, because just because somewhere is habitable doesn't mean that life started there. It's not the same. So we could have a water ocean, we could have like rocks and stuff that really like seems like it's a good environment for life, but if life didn't originate, that's a very big difference from habitability versus the origin of life. So it's really important that we consider what kind of spacecraft we're bringing to habitable environments, because these are especially prone to basically being an environment and having life take off if we have little hitchhikers coming from Earth to these other planets. And then in the converse direction, we consider somewhat planetary protection in that we are bringing samples back to Earth. And that's something more about like basically sample containment and stuff when they get here. So those are the two sides. So that I would say is the major ones for astrobiology. Of course, if you get more into things like wanting to build colonies on Mars and stuff, that's a different question of the ethics there, but that is a bit outside of the scope of astrobiology.
We're also seeing people talk of lunar mining, so mining on the moon. And what considerations does that have?
Yeah, again, that's outside of the scope of astrobiology. And when Joseph Marlin comes, so he's actually working on the lunar landing program. So these would be good questions for him, because he would really know the ins and outs of what kind of planetary protection is required for our moon. It's definitely, there's differences, because of course our moon is not considered habitable like maybe some of these other places in the solar system are. So it's just very different depending on which body in the solar system you're considering.
I hope that answered your question and a lot of our questions. All right, there's another good question from Tessie from Algeria. Why do we have very few space telescopes? Is it budget? Is it technology? What's holding us back?
Oh, space telescopes. Yeah, I would say the biggest thing is budget. So to do these well, they're very expensive. And so you kind of can have a trade-off as you go. So like there's big observatories on Earth. So we have like Keck Observatory, we have Palomar Observatory, some of these big ones that we use to basically study science from Earth. But the problem with those is that these telescopes have to get through Earth's atmosphere, which is really noisy. And so when you look at telescope data, you have to deal with the fact that Earth's atmospheric effects are dealing with it. So that's why space telescopes are much better. But just like space missions, they're also quite expensive. So I would say that budget is the major constraining factor there. And it's all a trade-off. So the cheaper techniques to study science tend to be ones that are maybe not as effective, and the more expensive ones are, of course, more expensive. So it's a trade-off.
All right. So a lot of people have questions on the mission itself and a bit more on the programmatic side. So how many maximum number of people should there be on a team? Then someone else starts, well, should there be roles of people in a team, kind of like imitating NASA, which is like a project manager, a budget analyst, etc. And then someone also asks, should we get into minor engineering details? I think you already answered, no, it's not an engineering problem, it's a science problem. But can you elaborate a bit again on the mission, how to form teams, and what you're looking for?
Yes, so team size should be 3 or 4 people. Given the small size, I don't think it's critically important to make roles. I would maybe have like a team leader, someone who's like kind of pushing the cadence forward of your group. But beyond that, maybe to assign, but I think that's something on a team-to-team basis you should be thinking about. Yeah, engineering, like you said, we don't need to really get into engineering details. Were there other ones? Oh, how do you meet people? Yeah, use the Discord. That's why it's there.
So I hope that answered many of your questions. If you still have technical questions on making teams, please ask them. Remember, the goal here is A, to learn, B, to have fun, and then of course C, to win when you have some good teams, create a fun project. But focus on the learning too. That will give you a lot of answers. All right. So Abdullah Kazi asks, so what are the most promising candidates for potentially habitable environments within our solar system? And can you talk of existing plans to investigate these locations further?
Yeah, so you definitely should come tomorrow because Dr. Cable will be talking about some of the most promising candidates in our solar system for life outside of Earth. So I would say that the most promising would be these moons of Jupiter and Saturn. So specifically Enceladus, Europa, and to some degree Titan as well. So Enceladus and Europa both have global subsurface water oceans. So there's water underneath the surface, which could potentially be harboring life. And the reason that they're like particularly exciting, so Europa will be sending a mission, that'll be Clipper, which will be an orbiter, which would really study Europa, and that'll be launching quite soon. Enceladus will hopefully get a mission in the not too far future. So the most recent decadal survey, this thing I discussed where they're talking about recommendations, it did recommend having a flagship or like a very large budget mission going to Enceladus. And the reason Enceladus is really important is because it actually has like cracks in the surface, which is emitting material from its water ocean. So instead of having to drill down to the bottom, we could just basically access the material in the ocean by going through this plume. So that's really valuable. And then finally, Titan. So Titan is kind of an interesting one because it actually has liquid on the surface, but it's not liquid water. So it's so cold out there that it actually has liquid methane and ethane, which you would never really find as liquids here on Earth, because the temperature of Titan's surface is minus 180 degrees Celsius. So it's very cold out there. But it's a question of, so here on Earth, water is the universal life solvent. But on Titan, maybe you could have like methane or ethane being the universal life solvent. So it's a really different kind of question. And that's a really exciting target as well. So we're sending Dragonfly there. It won't be visiting the lakes. So instead, it's going to be going in the mid regions. But another thing that makes Titan exciting is that it has a subsurface water ocean. And the surface is very dynamic. So it's possible that the complex organics, which are being generated in Titan's atmosphere, could make it down to the subsurface water ocean and potentially help with an origins of life event. So Titan is very exciting. I'm not sure exactly which one of the 3 Dr. Cable is going to talk about tomorrow, but I promise it's going to be amazing. And you will learn a lot about these 3 moons.
Excited. All right, more questions. Lena Salmon asked, I read it that it's difficult that there's life on another planet to tell, or whether it was brought there from Earth. So to tell whether there's life on another planet, or whether it was brought there from Earth by some previous missions that might have been contaminated. Is that true?
So I guess the biggest one that could be possible with is Mars, because we have sent quite a few things there. With some of the outer solar system moons, they're pretty pristine and we wouldn't have to worry as much. And actually Cassini, we crashed it into Saturn. So instead of letting it just like run out of the ability to run, we like actually crashed it into Saturn because we didn't want it to drift and accidentally land on one of these habitable environments. So we're being definitely conscious of that. But it is worth noting that detecting life outside of Earth is not as easy as we think. And that was really highlighted by Viking, which was a life detection mission. And some of the life detection experiments basically said, okay, well, there's life here, and some said there isn't. So the experiments conflicted with each other. And so that really made us realize that detecting life outside of Earth is something we really need to be deliberate about, and maybe not, it's not as easy as we had hoped.
Okay. All right. And then how do you envision the future of astrobiology research? What breakthroughs do you hope to see in the next decade?
In the next decade? I think I would be really excited by missions going to the surface of Titan and Enceladus. So Cassini was this spacecraft that was in orbit from 2004 to 2017, and that as an orbiter was able to give us so much amazing information about Titan and the Saturnian system. But imagine being able to actually go to the surface and do science on the surface. And generally, so we did land Huygens. So the European Space Agency did land something on Titan, but it wasn't something that like moved around or really lasted for a while. So this is going to be the first time we're going to have an extended mission on Titan's surface. And just the possibility of the science we're going to learn, like everything is going to be exciting. Like I think like it's such an amazing time to be in astrobiology. And we're sending a flagship mission to Uranus, which we haven't really explored yet either. So really the future of astrobiology is so bright, and I'm really excited to see. I mean, there's no scenario where it won't be something incredibly exciting. So that's why it's an amazing field to be in.
Great. All right, more questions. Please post them on Discord. I don't manage the Zoom chat really much, so please post your questions on Discord. Raj, any words from you?
As you started the program, there are a lot of questions on Discord. So let us actually go through some of the questions. So some of the questions are about astrobiology itself, and some are about the formation of the team. And you will definitely learn more about astrobiology in the coming days. So many of your questions will get answered. Not everything is going to get answered in the next 5 minutes. And with respect to the formation of the teams as well, we will be providing you additional information. Keep an eye for good people who you want a team with, so that you can create very successful programs. And then when you submit your mission, you have got an increased chance of winning the prizes. And
we'll put this information on Canvas. So, because a lot of these, maybe you just missed it because we were going through the slides a bit quickly, but we'll make sure you have all of this stuff on Canvas, very accessible for you to look it over.
Definitely. Most of your questions will get answered in the coming weeks. So stay tuned, stay focused, and attend all the sessions that you can live. And it is going to be a fun journey. It is always a fun journey going to space.
Like we do it every day, exactly.
Anything else we need to cover, Prachi?
I'm just waiting for more questions. There are some questions. Ishan, I think Tess will answer that in Discord shortly.
Yeah, I would say
Definitely find
content
out more.
questions, like astrobio content questions, we can maybe go through
Yes.
later.
Yes, exactly.
But yeah,
And then
any
yes,
logistic
how do
questions?
logistic questions, how do I start making teams? So Tess has already given you a lot of hints. Titan seems very promising with all that Mercury, Mars, Venus, Sirius. We have created these channels on Discord. So go to them, start speaking to people, and start finding people you may want to work with. Also just creating a team and see who wants to be part of your team. So start using this. If you want to go again, explore some other planet, you're welcome to just go to other and start building a team there. All right. There is one question which Dr. Ajay Kumar asked, what's common between astrobiology and aerospace medicine?
To be honest, I'm not familiar enough with the field of aerospace medicine to give you a good answer, but I will try to find someone who is, and then we can talk together and give you an answer. So stay tuned.
A whole new Womanium program, aerospace medicine, and how we can bring that to it. If
only we could find a person who had worked at both National Institutes of Health as well as NASA, who could combine. Well, I said that statement because Teresa used to work at the National Institutes of Health, which is a leading medical and healthcare research center in the US. And now she works for the leading aerospace and aeronautical research center in the US.
Too much time with the US government.
All right, some more questions. Can we fully apply the Drake equation?
The Drake equation, I would not say can be directly mathematically applied. It's nice, but definitely there's more things that should be being thought about.
The mission have to focus on finding life in space. Could it also be about bringing life into space, like plants?
So bringing things from Earth to space is more the field of space biology. So that considers like effects of space on astronauts and things like that. I would say it's a little bit outside of the scope. So I'd prefer if we keep it within the scope of astrobiology, but space biology is also great. So if we can find a space biology expert, we should definitely do a program on that too.
Great. Can you share the difference between astrobiology and space biology? I think you just did, but yeah.
Yeah. So astrobiology is this idea of like looking for life in the universe and trying to understand how it originated on Earth to characterize where else it might be in the universe. And then space biology is this idea that we should study basically the effects of space on like Earth species, so on astronauts, or like that's more like the biology of astronauts and like going into space as a human species.
Okay. All right, so I think there are a lot more questions on the mission itself. Remember, we will post all this information on Canvas. You will also have it on Discord as well. We will tell you the criteria, but again, just get excited. Now is the time to pump up for tomorrow's speaker, read a little bit about her, and we'll share also more information with her bio, etc. for you, and be ready for tomorrow. This should be fun. We'll tell you about the project again next week, and you'll have all the time to do it and do a great job, I'm sure.
Yes, we'll be by your side this whole time. We will give you announcements. We will help. We will support you. We are your very dedicated team. So don't worry, you will be with us the whole way.
All right. Any final questions?
There's a few questions about forming the group DMs. Do you think I should demonstrate that?
That would be great. Yes, Discord's tricky.
Okay, perfect.
So Ananya, who's our Discord queen, is going to show you guys how to make a group chat once you have made your teams.
In your direct messages, there's this little plus sign that says create DM, where you can select people to create a DM with. So say I want to create it with Anushka and Anthea. And let's okay, I think that should be it, or Miriam as well. Then you click create group DM, and this is where you can message people. The only thing is that all of these people have to be on your friends list. So it says select friends. That's why you have to send a friend request to these people. And it's very easy to do that. All you have to do is like click on their profile on main bio, but select someone random to send a friend request to. You click send friend request, and that's it. And then they accept, and then you can create your group DM by going to this direct messages button and clicking create DM. Yeah.
Yeah, that was easy. So please to interact with people, and also it will be very beneficial if you can add your name as well as your country, so that it will become much easier to form teams, especially given that we have got people from 70 countries and different time zones. You need to work with people. So it will be great if you work with people that you can actually complement the time zones. So if you put your countries, that will enable other people to reach out to you more effectively.
Okay, I think that's everything just about. Prachi, anything else?
I think that's about it. All
Okay,
right.
use the Discord, guys. That's why it's there.
So to summarize, we will be having 2 sessions every week, and the sessions will be live on Zoom, and you will get the links via Luma. So you will get the links in your email, in your inbox. So make sure that you mark womanium.org and Luma as not spam, safe list. So whitelisted. The second is that you will be using Discord to communicate and collaborate with other people, ask questions, etc. Not only ask questions, but also answer questions when you know the answers. One of the best ways of learning is to learn together, and that is the whole purpose of being here. So you will know answers to many questions, so help each other out, and other people will help you in turn. And in that process, we all will learn and grow together. The third platform is going to be Canvas. That is where all the assignments will be there and all the details will be shared to you. So make sure that you join Canvas as well. And if your links are not working, sometimes from the email, copy paste it into the browser's address bar, or try a different browser, or disable your firewall or antivirus applications, because sometimes applications like Discord or Canvas gets blocked by some of these applications. And I think for Canvas, you also need to disable the ad blocker. So if Canvas is sometimes not working, it could be because Canvas actually wants ad blocker to be off. And beyond that, welcome to the program. Teresa Marlin, who is a young scientist, has brought together a lot of other fantastic scientists doing fantastic work. You will learn a lot of things, a lot of new things. And most importantly, you will just meet new people, learn new subjects, and master new skills, and it will open your horizons into something beyond Earth. So in order for that, thanks to Teresa Marlin for taking the leadership, and she's the lead. And you can also reach out to other team members whenever you need any help or support. There is Anushka. She's the one who is heading the entire biology series of programs. There is Ananya. She's the Discord queen, but also the queen of many things. So she's a person with multiple talents, can answer many questions. She has been part of Womanium's quantum program. So if you have any quantum related questions, of course, Ananya can actually tackle it, because pretty soon she's leaving from home to her university, and she will be doing a lot of scientific and technical education. Then there is Karana. If you have anything related to graphics, creative design, you can always reach out to Karana. She's a very creative person, very colorful person. There is Akshita. She's a young student, and she had participated in the Womanium's quantum program and is also now part of the biology program. She's multi-talented, and you should reach out to her. And definitely, with any questions related to entrepreneurship or other questions, you can reach out to Prachi Vakaria. And you can also add some of these people on LinkedIn or other platforms where they're available, and Prachi is available on LinkedIn. Teresa is also available on LinkedIn. Now, if you have any questions, we can take some of the final questions right now. Any other things to add, team?
I think that's good. And we will be answering questions on Discord, but I think we can probably end this now. It's already 12 here.
Prachi?
Okay, we'll see you all tomorrow, same time. Get excited. I'm very excited to see you all.
Yeah, remember, this is only going to get more and more exciting, and we're going to reach new limits all the way to space. So excited to start this journey with all of you, and see you tomorrow, same time.
Yes, and this was the orientation session to get yourself oriented with respect to the platforms, with respect to the structure, with respect to the goals and objectives. And the program officially starts tomorrow, and hopefully you come ready. And the countdown begins pretty soon.